Miss Maris, Miss Nichols, do you have any questions about your rights that I read to you just a moment ago?
Another big update in a shocking case. Former high school biology teacher Maris Nichols, now sitting in front of a judge, now facing more than 24 charges, accused of sexually abusing multiple students at the school she worked at. She's accused of sending explicit videos and even filming explicit videos as well. We have new disturbing details from a grand jury indictment that just came down that now puts this accused bad teacher back behind bars.
She was a biology teacher, department head, trusted by parents, praised by administration, and standing in front of teenagers every single day. And allegedly, she was using that trust as a weapon. Maris Nichols taught at Alexander High School in Douglasville, Georgia, roughly 30 miles outside Atlanta. A small suburb, the kind of place where a teacher's word still carries weight. Picture that classroom closet for a moment. Not as a storage space, as a crime scene. That image is the lens through which this entire case must be understood. Because according to a 27-count grand jury indictment, what happened inside that school was not an isolated lapse in judgment. It was a pattern. A calculated months-long pattern of grooming, exploitation, and alleged abuse targeting at least 7 students.
And even filming it all is now facing nearly 36 charges. A grand jury just handed down a 27-count indictment. We have obtained the documents laying it all out in stunning detail of what prosecutors say Maris Nichols did to at least 7 students.
Before we go deeper into what the evidence actually shows, make sure you're subscribed to CrimeNest Media. Because we don't just cover the story, we follow the facts. Nichols was first arrested on May 8th. At that point, prosecutors had 2 charges and 1 alleged victim. She posted a $40,000 bond and walked out.
So let's do a quick refresher here of when this story first began. She was arrested early in May. So Maris Nichols worked as a biology teacher, and she was actually the head of the department at Alexander High School, which is in Douglasville, Georgia. It's about a half hour, a little more than that, outside of Atlanta. So she was first arrested on May 8th for allegedly having sex with a student in her classroom closet. She bonded out. She posted a $40,000 bond, but investigators kept digging, and it appears at this point that that was allegedly just the tip of the iceberg, because more students came forward.
Investigators kept digging. Less than 2 weeks later, on May 20th, she was arrested again, this time with 6 alleged victims and a bond set at $70,000.
There was a second arrest of Maris Nichols little less than 2 weeks later on May 20th. Prosecutors say that she allegedly sent nude photos and videos to students. She's even accused of using a sex toy on live video calls with minors, and even allegedly showed explicit material to her own minor cousin. Now, after that second arrest on May 20th, her bond was set at $75,000, and she bonded out again. But this time she had strict conditions. And prosecutors say that she violated those conditions allegedly 85 times in 27 days. Now, the motion to revoke her bond was filed last week, but while that was still playing out, a grand jury was
She posted that too. The court imposed strict conditions: no contact with minors, no unsupervised access to locations where children gather, standard protocol for a case this serious. She allegedly violated those conditions 85 times in 27 days.
And prosecutors say that she violated those conditions allegedly 85 times in 27 days. Now, the motion to revoke her bond was filed last week, but while that was still playing out, a grand jury was looking at this case. And on Wednesday, they handed down a massive indictment, which brings us to Nichols' appearance in court earlier this morning. The appearance was brief. It was via Zoom.
Let that land. 85 times.
Of you harming others while you're out pending the court case. That's why the violations of that bond condition are so serious, because judges give bonds to defendants with the hope that they're going to return to court and they're not going to be interacting with people that would be problematic. Here, she was restricted from going to a lot of locations where she might interact with underage people. She was restricted from engaging in any contact with children except her own child. And if she violated those conditions, then that is an extremely serious thing that judges do not like.
Yeah, she's expected to be in court on Monday, and that'll be for a bond hearing. We saw her at the appearance she had this morning after the grand jury indictment, where
And here is where the story stops being just a scandal and becomes something more disturbing. Because the violations prosecutors documented were not dramatic confrontations. They were trips to retail stores, fast food restaurants, everyday locations. Which raises the question that no one in this case can answer yet. If she was this unconcerned about court-imposed restrictions,
maliciously inflicted cruel and excessive mental pain by exposing minors to sexually explicit conduct and material. Now, you will recall earlier warrants mentioned a video of Nichols wearing a Jesus Loves You sweatshirt. Now, that video appears to be at the center of these charges. 3 counts of grooming a minor. Prosecutors say she engaged in a pattern of conduct over many months to allegedly prepare, persuade, and coerce these students to engage in sexual offenses.
what does that tell us about the alleged conduct itself? She allegedly violated those conditions 85 times in 27 days. The grand jury indictment handed down in Douglas County lays out the charges in clinical, devastating detail.
All right.
So let's get into what actually landed her back in court and back behind bars, according to this official indictment that was handed down by a grand jury in Douglas County, Georgia. So Maris Nichols is now facing 8 counts of sexual contact by an employee or agent in the first degree. And that is the charge for engaging allegedly in sexual intercourse or explicit sexual conduct with students she had authority over.
8 counts of sexual contact by an employee in the first degree, covering alleged intercourse or explicit conduct with students under her direct authority.
And the alleged locations, frankly, are just as disturbing as the acts themselves. Prosecutors say that she had sex, allegedly, with a student in her classroom closet. Another incident allegedly took place in the backseat of a black Hummer, which she owns. And another was in the back of a student's truck at a golf course. 5 counts of sexual exploitation of children. And this charge, it's all significant, but this one's very significant as well. The indictment alleges that Nichols, quote, did knowingly assist in creating a video, a visual medium, depicting a minor engaged in sexual intercourse. 3 counts.
5 counts of sexual exploitation of children, including allegations that she knowingly assisted in creating a video depicting a minor engaged in sexual intercourse. 3 counts of grooming. Prosecutors say she engaged in a deliberate pattern of conduct over many months to prepare, persuade, and coerce students.
Now, that video appears to be at the center of these charges. 3 counts of grooming a minor. Prosecutors say she engaged in a pattern of conduct over many months to allegedly prepare, persuade, and coerce these students to engage in sexual offenses. 4 counts of electronically furnishing obscene material to minors. She is accused of sending nude photographs of herself via electronic devices to her minor students, including videos of herself with sex toys. And one of those counts involves her own cousin, who's a minor. Now, she's also facing a count
4 counts of electronically furnishing obscene material to minors, including alleged nude photographs and videos sent via electronic devices. 1 count involving her own minor cousin. 1 count of child molestation involving a victim under the age of 16. And critically, 1 count of criminal attempt to commit tampering with evidence.
1 count of criminal attempt to commit tampering with evidence. And this one's crucial. Prosecutors say she directed one alleged victim to delete text messages and photographs from his phone to prevent her apprehension. An arrest warrant we obtained spells it out. Nichols told this alleged victim to, quote, delete everything off his phone and to lie if he was questioned about the crime of child molestation, of which he was the victim.
According to arrest warrants obtained from public court records, Nichols allegedly directed a victim to delete text messages and photographs from his phone and to lie if questioned. She allegedly violated those conditions 85 times in 27 days. Former sex crimes prosecutors who have analyzed cases like this have noted that consecutive sentencing in child sex abuse cases is not unusual. It is the judicial norm. 7 victims. 7 potential sentence structures, running one after another. The arithmetic on that is straightforward. She could be facing decades in prison.
Well, you're looking at substantial prison time because if someone's convicted with more than 1 victim or even more than 1 count with the same victim, you can get either concurrent time. Concurrent time means you serve all the sentences together at the same time, or consecutive time, which means that if you get a certain prison sentence for each count or with each victim, they could be one after another after another. And with child sex abuse cases, judges tend to give consecutive time. So if you're talking about 7 victims, and if she's convicted for all 7, a judge may give 7 different prison sentences that follow one after another after another. The feeling from judges, I think correctly, is if you did concurrently, it's almost like saying, well, if you are sexually exploiting one person, you can sexually exploit all the others without any additional consequence. So that's why consecutive time is often given in those cases. So she could be facing decades in prison. A lot of these cases, most cases, are resolved via plea bargain. So we'll see what happens with that. She might be able to get some reduced sentence, but I can't imagine a plea avoiding some kind of incarceratory sentence based on
Search warrants, available through Douglas County court records, also show investigators sought records from a content platform in connection with this case.
Investigation, detectives referenced claims that students may have been trying to blackmail Nichols by threatening to expose an alleged OnlyFans account in exchange for better grades. The indictment does not mention OnlyFans directly, but search warrants show investigators sought records from that platform, including account information and earnings data. Now, that part
including account information and earnings data. That portion of the investigation remains publicly open and ongoing.
It is common in cases where there are a lot of victims, because it's very, very common for especially underage students, if they are involved in an inappropriate situation that's sexually explicit, many of them don't want to go public. They're embarrassed. They're worried no one will believe them. Who will believe me against this teacher? They're worried about retaliation. So often, once one of these accounts is public, then other people feel emboldened to tell their story. So they may say, oh, okay, I was experiencing this too. Now I know it's safe to say that. On the flip side, sometimes you have people come out with stories that are not true because they've heard other people say they were victimized and they think they might gain some benefit from also giving their story. So that's why law enforcement has to not just take every story at face value, but vet everyone individually. So if someone says, we had interactions, we had communication, they want to say, okay, what is the evidence of that communication? When did you interact? How did you interact? Who did you tell about it? So there is a lot of ongoing investigation in matters like this, but it's very common that one time.
The indictment is a matter of public record. Pull up the Douglas County Superior Court case file. Read the indictment yourself. Every count, every alleged location, every victim number. Then come back and tell us in the comments, at what point in this timeline did the system have enough to stop this? If you believe these facts demand accountability, like this video, share it, subscribe to CrimeNest Media, and turn on notifications. Because this case is far from over.